Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Peno Community Podcast. I'm Ben, founder of Peno Community, and today I'm joined by someone really special, Nima Sagharichiha. Nima started his career as an engineer, but over time, he followed a new path, one that's all about helping people become better leaders. He now runs Pro Context, his business, where he coaches and trains teams in leadership, communication, and working across cultures. In this episode, we are gonna talk about his journey, what it's like to work with big companies like ASML, and what we all can learn about leading with empathy and purpose. Hi, Nima. I'm really happy to have you today in this episode. Maybe you want to add something to my introduction.
Thank you very much for your introduction. I liked your introduction, and I also like the part that you mentioned that I changed my direction from engineering to a coach and a trainer. So I think that's one of the most important decisions in my life. And when you are from Iran, probably because you're also from Iran originally, you know that in our culture, we must be engineers, doctors, dentists, those kind of jobs. We used to be programmed from a very young age. So I arrived here in the Netherlands at the age of 15 with my parents. And when I arrived in the Netherlands, I was surprised with two things. Number one, I was surprised that people in the Netherlands they have 2 days of weekend because in Iran we only have Fridays. So I was like, okay, is this every week like that? And number two, it was about the education. Because in Iran, when you want to go to university to become a doctor, dentist, lawyer, those kind of, there is a big competition. But in the Netherlands, you just follow the high school. And when you have the right background, you can just go to the university. And that was for me a very nice, welcoming part of the Netherlands. It was okay, let's become engineer. And I would like to make my family proud and my parents happy. So, and I always like to do things, technical things. I loved cars, those kind of things. So, my educational background is in automotive engineering. So that's what I did, my study, and then I started my second job was at ASML. So I had my first job. It was a short period of time, I think about 1 year, but my real serious job it was at ASML, and I used to work at ASML for more than 11 years in different roles and positions. And the last part, what I did at ASML, it was focused on processing improvement. So I have a background in lean engineering, which is all about process improvements, and that's what I did at ASML as well.
So, how many years ago you moved to the Netherlands?
It's been 30 years. So
30 years.
1975, yeah, we arrived here. Yeah.
Great. And in this journey, was there a moment when you knew that it was time to change direction? Because for a long time, as you mentioned, you worked in that specific field. And, in terms of the things you mentioned, I mean, the perception of your family, your friends, even your background and your culture and the things like that, you pursued. Your career path as an engineer, but now you are not officially an engineer, right?
No, 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 not anymore. And because during my last job at ASML, I was working a lot with different people. So when you're doing lean, it's more about dealing with people, coaching, facilitating, and those kind of things. So lean is 80% about working with people. and 20% is about technical things. So what I discovered during my journey in this position was I love to work with people. I like to coach people. I like to facilitate sessions and those kind of things. So for me, there was a moment to realize, okay, what do I want to do with my life? Do I want to stay in the engineering field and do the technical part, or do I like to work with people? So that was the decision, and I changed my position towards coaching. Those years, also 2015, 16, I followed a training for myself. It was not a technical training, but it was a training to discover more about yourself, to understand yourself, kind of self awareness training. It was about 3 days, and that was also a very big moment in my life that I realized sometimes we are the product of the decisions or the programming of our environment. So that's what we think that we like to do or we must do. But in during those days that I discovered that maybe there is something else that makes me more happy. And so the combination of that training, but also the lean position at ASML, it's resulted in my decision to step out. I don't say it was easy, because when you work in a nice organization with a lot of growth opportunities, with a lot of benefits, it's really a tough decision to stop and to start on your own business. But that's what I did. Eventually, in 2018, I started with my own business, and those days, the main reason that I chose for coaching, especially coaching international people, because that I realized there are a lot of people coming from different countries to the Netherlands, especially to Eindhoven, to region at ASML. And there are a lot of opportunities for international people, highly educated people with a lot of motivation, but not knowing the culture, not knowing the language, let's say. And for me, there was an opportunity to help people because of my background.
Before talking about that specific area in terms of intercultural communication skills and the things like that, after many years of working in ASML, as you mentioned, ASML is one of the giants in the Netherlands, and yeah, I mean, many people are trying to just join them to work with them and the things like that. But you decided to start your own business, which means we can consider you as an entrepreneur in a way, which means you decided to cope with the challenges and struggles in terms of developing your idea. I don't know, reaching to different clients, manage everything by yourselves, wearing different kind of hats. I mean, creating content, negotiating for sales, then providing and delivering the content by yourself sometimes, uh, it's really tough. I mean, acting in that way. If I want to learn more from your experience, two main struggles or challenges you have experienced so far, and the solutions you found to cope with them in a better way, what would they be? I mean, I'm just curious because, also I'm busy with developing my idea as well. Maybe the people like me can learn from you.
Okay, it's a great question. Although I need to tell you that I never saw it as a challenge or a struggle to have a business, and I'm going to tell you why. For me, number one drive to start a business, it's never about making money or something like that, but it's more about doing the things that you really love to do. So when you are passionate about something and you do it from your talent or from your passion, I think things will become easier. So that's one thing. And the other thing is about it's always about thinking, how can I create value for my environment? So when you are combining those two things, so using your passion and talents, but also thinking about value creation. I think the combination of those two things, it will result in money and business. So money will become a side effect, or success will become a side effect of that fact. So as mentioned before, I really love to work with people, coach people, helping people, also standing in front of the group, giving presentations. That's something that I always love to do. And the other thing, when I wanted to start coaching, especially when you think at this moment, there are a lot of people, they are thinking about starting a coaching business, helping other people. So it's very broad. You can think about everything when you want, it's coaching on the relationship area, uh, in your career development, or business, or there are a lot of things when you talk about coaching. But for me, it was more about look at my own experiences. What do I bring to people? What do I have in my suitcase? And I can share with people in order to create value. So that was the moment that I realized, okay, maybe the best target group for my business are international people. Because I realized international people, they are coming from a different culture, they are coming from a different background, they are super motivated, highly motivated, but also a lot of smart people. They have done a lot of things, they have passed a lot of filters to arrive in the Netherlands. So 95% is already in place, only 5%, which is about the communication, which is about mindset, which is about how do I convince my environment, is about integration in a new culture, convincing other people. So that part was missing. And I was thinking, okay, living here for 30 years, being married with a Dutch person, having been in the Netherlands in the education system, coming from a um, company like ASML, being there for more than 11 years. So I have a suitcase with a lot of experiences, which I simply can share with people. Also for me with my own Iranian background and cultural differences, those kind of things. So for me, it was easier to understand challenges of international people. So that was for me the moment of choosing the direction for my business. And from there, I realized um, that I never had to fight for it, never having the struggles. Because also, you mentioned about sales, you mentioned about marketing. For me, it's always something that uh, I never do sales. I never do sales. So for me, when I have a conversation, when I'm talking with a manager, when I'm, you know, uh, having conversation in a company with a person, so I talk about what I do, and I'm usually more interested in their challenges, what they are dealing with, and then I start to think with them, sharing my experiences and those things. And suddenly they ask, okay, do you have something for us? Do you have a program, or can you coach this person? And so business will follow as a result of a very open conversation. So for me, that's the secret, And so when you think about how can I create value for other people based on value, then business will follow.
That's right. And as you mentioned, you've coached a lot of people in international team. My question is, what are some common struggles you see in those experiences? I mean, they are struggling with.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for the international community, and when I say international community and people from the different cultures and backgrounds, it's not about everyone. Okay, so because
That's right.
in every country with every culture, we have a range of also different personalities. But if I look in general and on average, what are the typical struggles of people? I think it's about visibility. I think a lot of international people, they believe I need to work very hard. in the organization. And it's up to me if a project is successful or not successful. So they are working a lot of hours, and they take a lot of responsibility, and they hope that at the end of the year they will get the recognition or the reward. But in fact, when you look at the Dutch culture is more about team working. It's more about, okay, we are as a group together, and it's not about one person. It's about the team. So what is important for Dutch companies and Dutch managers is more about collaboration, is more about involvement, is more about sharing, sharing the ideas, involving each other. So it's not about hard working, but it's about team working. So I think when international people start to see the difference, um, they will become very successful. Also, another thing is about hierarchy. Um, in Dutch culture, it's more flat, like the Netherlands. Netherlands is flat, so also the culture within the organizations is very flat culture. So, um, you know, a lot of international people, they think, okay, my manager needs to tell me what to do and not to do, and I'm waiting for orders or directions. But in the Netherlands, it's like, okay, no, we are at the same level, and managers are not bosses. Managers are facilitators. So they want you to tell what you want, what direction you think it's correct for you or for the organization. What are your your personal targets, and they are there to facilitate you. And together, when you talk with other people within the team, together you can also define the direction of the team. So those are some differences coming from different cultures. And when international people start to realize those things, life becomes easier.
Good. Since I know that you already engaged a lot with the intercultural competency, I want to ask my next question, which is about your advice for someone working in a multicultural environment for the first time.
Mhm. I think it starts with understanding the cultural differences. So there are a lot of materials available. So if you look at Hofstede, if you look at Ehringmeier, there are a lot of nice books. There are a lot of movies on internet available to understand what are the cultural differences. A lot of people, when you talk about culture, they think culture is about food, is about clothing. It's about how people talk or sit or walk, those kind of things. But cultural differences are very deep or impacting our behavior. So when people get familiar with different cultural elements, but also the impact of those cultural elements in their daily activities, in their behavior, in their communication, I think that's a great starting point. So that's step number one. And for me, even more important is when we are from a different culture and we see people acting in a different way, or sometimes it's even disappointing us because we have expectations from our culture, but we see differences. So at that moment, you have two choices: either to get angry, disappointed, and to walk away, or number two, which I really recommend people to do this, is to have an open conversation. So when you feel something is strange, or in our culture we do it different way, have have an open conversation with that person without any judgment. Share about your experiences, share about your personal culture, but also ask about how they do it in their culture. Be curious about it, be open about it. And when you have those conversations, as a result of those conversations, you start to realize it's never personal. It's never so they people they don't it's not about that they don't like you or you know those kind of things, but it's more about people are acting from different either personalities or cultural backgrounds. And when you have those conversations, you have clarity. And based on clarity, then it will even bring people closer to each other.
But there is a point here, maybe we need to consider, you know better than me that, for example, let's talk about the Dutch culture. Uh, the people who are coming from outside with, for example, a high context indirect approach towards communicating with others, compared to the culture in the Netherlands, which is more low context and direct. You know what I mean? Then these two different type of people are communicating with each other. For example, they are coping with some struggles. Because, it's maybe after 30 years of living in the Netherlands, for you, I mean, clear and obvious that, okay, then you cannot understand something in terms of communicating with others, just ask them directly. But for example, for those people who are newcomer, because I asked you about the people who are working in a multicultural environment for the first time, they are, in shock, and they have no idea how to communicate with, for example, this culture, because they are thinking in an indirect way. With a background of, for example, high context approach, then they are starting in that situation and they freeze. They have no idea what is the next step, which means most of the people with these differences are maybe facing challenges how to communicate with each other. Maybe it's a good idea to share some kind of advice or tips and tricks about, for example, how you personally, when you are working in diverse teams, how do you build trust and better communication?
Yeah, again, for me, it's all about open communication. So when we have conversations with people and the conversations are open conversations, which I mean, it's not based on assumptions and expectations. As long as we have assumptions and make assumptions and we have expectations, we are biased. So we are like expecting something and it's not happening. So it will result in frustration or sadness, and that creates distance. I have been coaching a lot of people that they are struggling with someone, either it's someone from the university or a colleague, or and they say this person is is not understanding me. It's not collaborative, and I have some struggles with this person, and I don't know why they are not acting like that, or they are not acting the way that they should do. So the first thing that I tell these people is, did you talk with them? Did you ask? Did you also share your personal experience? Did you give feedback? I mean, that is the first point, the first step of um, starting to know each other's cultures and each other's personality. So that's really the first step. And another thing, of course, that's also possible is when you are new in a country, talk with people who are living there for a long time, because also they might give you some tips and insights, and they can help you to change your perspective as well.
So, the main advice is try, specifically in the Netherlands, as I found. Your main advice for people who are coming here for working, studying, or the things like that is try to be as much as possible open for conversations, but in a direct way, and also asking questions, listening proactively, and the things like that. Am I right?
Definitely. Yeah. Listening skills, and also one is about listening skills, and the other one is about sharing about your experience, and also giving feedback or asking for feedback. Those are the things that will help you.
Nice, sharing experiences. So, a few weeks ago, I had a talk with one of your friends, Mark. And in that conversation we had, he mentioned about the power of storytelling.
Yes.
And what I found is you are also interested in the power of storytelling a lot in your workshops. Why is that important?
Well, telling a story is a way to connect to people. We are born and we grow up with stories. You know, when you look at young children before going to bed, they always ask parents, "Oh, yeah, another story, one more story, please. Can you tell me a story?" So we love stories as human being, and for me, that's a way to connect to people and to make sure that people will remember your message, and yeah, and people like it. So that's for me why I use also storytelling a lot in my workshops, in my trainings, to make sure that people listen and to make sure that people remember.
Meaning it's kind of effective strategy for connecting with people, building trust, sharing our ideas, learning, and also interacting in a two-way approach with others and engaging them in what you want to talk about, right?
Yeah, definitely. As also as Mark mentioned also in his conversation with you, there are two ways to. There are more ways, but two main tools in order to connect with your audience. One is storytelling, and the other one is asking questions. So when you
That's
interact
right.
with your audience and you ask questions, you're involving them. So that's the way to create a better connection with them. Yes.
Good. Uh, at Benno Community, we are really interested in forward thinking and trying to focus more how we can empower ourselves in terms of coping with the current situations, but based on our imagination from the future or futures in a different way. That's why now I want to ask something about this concept. The first one is what is one piece of advice you'd give someone trying to grow as a leader? Because when we are talking about growing as a leader, we are talking about future, and which means we need to prepare ourselves for coping as a leader with the challenges in the future, not now. What is your advice?
Okay. First of all, also in my sessions, because I do a lot of leadership sessions with people, and my first question usually in the beginning of the session is, what is leadership? What is leadership? A lot of people, they think leadership it's about having a managerial position, or being in a position to tell people what to do and not to do. So it's more about the power. It's more about the position, power. But for me, leadership is about influencing other people. Okay, and usually as a great leader, you don't need the position power, but it's more about the personal power that you have. And personal power, one of the benefits of personal power you can apply to every direction. Position power is only top down. Personal power, it goes all directions. And in order to be a great leader, in order to be a great influencer, to get your ideas towards other people, to get collaboration from other people, it's all about communication. It's all about communication. Communication is based on your emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is I understand people's emotions and I understand behavior of people coming from those emotions. Equally important, I understand my personal emotions, but also my behavior coming from my personal emotions. Together, what I use in my communication towards other people, that's emotional intelligence. So for me, when we talk about leadership, Emotional intelligence is playing a very, very important role. Okay? And also, emotional intelligence, the good news is that something we can develop to become a great, great leader.
That was my next question, how we can develop it.
Yeah. Do you know why emotional intelligence is so important, even when you compare it with IQ? So Daniel Goleman, he has a book about it. So he describes about the importance of emotional intelligence. And he said, even in managerial positions, in leader positions, if you look about the impact of emotional intelligence, is about 85% responsible for the success at work. So 15% is coming from IQ. Do you know why that percentage is that high for emotional intelligence when we talk about being successful? So success at work.
The point is, being a successful is not a personal individual activity. I mean, everywhere, every time, we need to learn how to collaborate, how to communicate with others, which
Exactly.
means it's really important to learn more than just, some.
True. So when you look at leadership positions, when you need to work with more people, especially when you climb the ladder,
It's about others.
you need to guide other people. So when you have a high level of emotional intelligence, your impact will be bigger because, you know, now you are dealing with a team of very smart people, but then you can activate them, you can influence them, and they will become responsible for the end results. That's the impact. Yeah, that's the impact. Yeah.
That's right. Great. Fabulous. So, maybe it's related. This question also is related to what you already mentioned. Recently, we started to work on a project in collaboration with Hansa University, empowering international students and also Dutch students. But main focus area is international students by applying future-oriented skills to navigate their career path. That's why I want to ask you, based on your experiences and insights so far, if you could give them, I mean the students or audiences, a message, what would it be? Something specifically for international students for now in the Netherlands.
It's a great question, and I'm really happy that you asked this one. It's a gift to international community, and especially students. Most of people, they are coming from a very strong technical background or the study background which they already had in their own country. So when they arrive here, they are continuing to focusing on technical things. So basically the harder skills. But my advice to people is you already have enough in your suitcase. Change your focus, change your directions, and start to gain more about cultural things. Learn the Dutch language. Dutch language is a game changer, you know. Yes, true. 95% of Dutch people already speak English, but for me, it's not about the language. When you learn the language, you can enter a new culture. You can communicate with people on a different level. You start to understand the habits and, you know, the rituals of a country. So, based on understanding the cultural elements, in a country, it's easier to integrate. So you can find a job easier, you can grow in an organization easier, you can be much more successful when you understand the culture and the language as well. And another thing, when we are from a different country, we arrive in a new country, we tend to stay with people from our background. So we loved it, to speak in our language, to make the same jokes because we understand each other, we know each other's culture. But for me, it's all about going out of your comfort zone. to connect with people, Dutch people, but also people from different countries. And that's the moment that you start to grow. You start to grow, you start to learn, and a lot of new doors will be open for you. So that's my message to all international students. So again, if you take away one thing from this session, start to learn Dutch today.
Great. Thank you. So I have some questions at the end to ask you, maybe 1 to 3 words you can answer. It's kind of rapid fire questions. A book that changed the way you think.
A book, Seven Habits from Stephen Covey.
Someone who inspires you a lot.
Someone, Alex Hormozy.
Explain more. Why?
Alex Hormozy, he is a guy who knows everything about helping other people, growing a business, but also his vision. I really love it. His vision is about before you start to build a business, think about how you can create an amazing way to create value for other people. So take care of other people first, and then the business will grow. Yeah, he's a storyteller. If you search Alex Hormozy on YouTube, uh, see how energetic person he is in his. It's just
So, uh, you was born in Iran, then living and working for many years here in the Netherlands. Coffee or tea?
coffee
Oh, good. One word to describe your leadership style.
connection.
The best advice you've ever received.
Follow your heart.
Favorite part of leading a workshop.
Favorite part of doing a workshop. Mm, Making people to take the lead of their lives.
Nice. The last one. What's the thing people don't expect about you?
Mm, don't expect about me. Mm, Yeah, it's a great question. Maybe they don't know that I play judo.
Oh, nice. So at the end, maybe I forgot to ask something, or maybe you want to emphasize on something which is really important in your point of view. Feel free to share it.
It's been a great and amazing experience. I really liked your questions and the way that you lead the conversation. So I think we are on the same mission. So let's help people to grow. And I
Of
love it.
course. Of course. Thank you, Nima. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your journey. Your story really shows that it's never too late to change path. I mean, after many years, you decided to switch your way from being an engineer to a coach. And I think, yeah, it's really valuable to share this story with others as well. And to our listeners, if today's chat sparked something for you, maybe a question, maybe a small step or whatever, that's what Bennu is all about. Keep learning, keep growing, and don't forget to connect with Nima on LinkedIn or visit procontext.nl, the website. We also share the links in the description of this episode, and feel free to share it, to leave comments and approach us if you have any feedback, comments, or the things like that. Until the next time, take care and keep rising. Thank you, Nima.
Thank you very much.